Welcome to the SpunkGo webinar. Today's speaker is Phyllis Mwangi. She is the National Coordinator at SheTrades Commonwealth, where they create opportunities for women in developing countries. It is my greatest pleasure to welcome Phyllis to talk about the SheTrades Commonwealth and what careers and social impact organizations involve. Just a side note, Q&A will be done through the chat feature after her presentation, where she will answer any questions. SpunkGo is an all-girls global student organization where proceeds will go to charity. I especially wanted to thank the SpunkGo ambassadors and the SpunkGo leaders of the Kenya chapter, both who are attending this webinar right now and those who will be watching the recording later. And with that, the floor is now yours, Phyllis.
Hello, thank you for unmuting me. I was trying to unmute myself. How are you, everybody? My name is Phyllis. I can see we're about 5 of us. No, now maybe about 6. Yeah, good to see you. Been looking forward to this session. And I think we'll just 1 minute to see if a few more people can join and then we move on. On the other hand, I'm going to share my screen so that I can share my record. I'm going to share my screen. Can you see? Everyone can see? Hello? Netra, can you see me? Can you see my screen? Hello? Okay, I need some feedback. Netra, Brenda Joy, could you please unmute and tell me whether you can hear me? Okay, I see you're talking, so probably you can hear me. Netra, could you give people permission to speak, please? Oh, maybe she left. All right.
Sorry guys, if you could check now, I think you will be able to unmute.
Hello, Netra. Brenda Joy, could you please tell me if you can hear me? I'm finding it a bit difficult to move without some feedback. I need to know whether you can hear me. Hello? Manya, can you hear me? SpunkGo, can you hear me, Netra?
We can hear you.
Oh, okay. All right, so let me go ahead with my presentation. Kind of feels alone out here, but I guess that's what it is. It's a season for digital. It's difficult when you can't connect with people directly like I'm used to. But here we are. We've been at it for the last perhaps 9 months. So post in the chat. Netra, I cannot see the chat function because I'm sharing screen. I can't see it on my screen. So please read to me. If any questions come up, read them to me. All right, so I put some minions. I was told that I'll be speaking to young ladies who want us to do a career, to run a career in social entities, social enterprise. I'll go and explain a little bit more about social enterprise, what we're doing. So I'll start off by introducing myself, and then I'll move on to the work we're doing at SheTrades Commonwealth in Kenya and around the globe. And then eventually I'll do a very simple exercise in NetTrap. Please, I really need people to respond. So please give them permission to speak. Keep yourself muted until it's time to, I want to make it a bit more interactive, not just lecture, okay? All right, so as I said earlier, the brief I got is you would like to know what it takes to have a career in social impact organizations such as International Trade Center, SheTrades Commonwealth. And this is a very, very good question, and also a very difficult one, because just to put it into context, at ITC, at SheTrades, we have the people who do the actual work, which is meet the women, consult with the women on businesses, do strategy for them and help them implement. So that's one part of ITC SheTrades. But then we have the behind the scenes, which sometimes to me looks like the strategy, somebody thinking through the WTO numbers, somebody who thinks through which is the lowest hanging fruit in each developing nation that we need to work on, so that we can, become an activator, a catalyst to help women-owned businesses to survive, to thrive in that space. So there are very many sections, and they are all important. So I'm going to talk about all. However, I know you're listening to me. You probably have a gift. So it depends on what's your gifting, what's your calling, what's your nature. And I'll do a very small exercise on what's your nature. Now, I thought it would be nice to give you my story. When I started out working in 1998, immediately after my Bachelor of Business Management degree at Moi University, which is in Kenya, in a place called Eldoret, and I know the Kenyans will know that. I did what we call it, my program, the business BBM, was actually, they called us master of, a jack of all trades, master of none, because I did five majors. There was computer science, sales and marketing. I had HR, which was called personnel management those days. We had financial management and economics. Those were 5 compulsory majors. And so by the time I left the university, I had an option to pick any one of those, to select any one of those paths. And so when I came out, freshly graduated, I was very sure that I want to do computer science. So I looked for a computer science job. They rejected me. But there's a type of job that kept looking for me, and I had so many applications. I mean, so many people calling me to ask me to take up a sales job. And I never knew that I had an innate, a natural knack for sales. It's just that in my career, I really love digital, really love computer science. But then what kept coming at me was a sales and marketing job. So eventually I bit the bullet. I just bit it. Not really what I wanted to do. Working with people, wasn't very sure that this is what I wanted to do. Sitting behind a computer to create strategies, I was very sure that's what I wanted to do. And I'm telling you this so that later on you can see how it all came together. So sometimes it's hard to say I'll do this and not this. It's also, you also need to throw yourself out there. What your hand finds to do, you do it, and you do it with your best, and then eventually the spaces just keep opening up for you. So this is my career path. I started working at Diners Club Card, which tells you that I was selling Royal Card, which is a credit card. It was quite interesting. As I told you, I didn't think so much about sales, but I did exceptionally well selling the Diners Club Card. I was always either the top earner or the second top earner or the third top earner for a period of 2 years. Eventually, I moved over to media, which were Kiss FM. Sold airtime. So you can see it's all a career of selling. And I'm trying to tell you this so that you see it's not a hard and fast path, but it's if you want it, it will always come to you. Okay. So I did sales and marketing at Kiss FM, was a top performer, lasted there for about 1 month, which was in 2000, just immediately when they launched, and moved on to Peak Performance, which was the first ever motivational kind of training in Kenya, launched by my former boss. And I lasted there for 7 years, grew the brand, did children's training, just about psychology. And at Peak Performance, this is where I learned that success is 80% your attitude and 20% your skill. So you can have a skill at something, but the fact that you're skilled doesn't mean that you're going to succeed. It takes a good mental attitude, a good, psychology, great psychologists look at things, a good outlook. It takes so much more. And just to support this, what I learned at Peak is that research was done amongst Fortune 500 company CEOs, and they were asked, why do you do so well? How do you think you succeed so well? And most of them, at least 70 to 80% of them, said things such as because of the trust, because of the trust amongst my people, because of the hard working, because of the diligence, and all these are not measurable. These are human elements. And that's why I'd like us to discuss this at some point later in my presentation. And then 20% of them said it's because of my engineering background. It's because we're very good at we're very good at, putting things together. And the shocking part, and that was where the analysis came from, that success is really 80% your psychology and then 20% your skill. So am I saying skills are not important? No. Without a skill, you'll not be able to access that organization to work for it. So skill is 150% important. And if that skill can be trained, even better. But when you get into an organization, it's not so much that skill in itself that keeps you there. It's your ability to work with people, teamwork, to communicate well, to put out your thoughts in an orderly manner. So, and all those things are trained, and it's really the psychology of how you think, okay? So then I started my own company, Edge Consult. And under Edge Consult, we run corporate training, youth training, and women training. And under women training, I worked with Vital Voices and still partially working with them, Vital Voices, on just giving free talks to women. Vital Voices was launched by Hillary Clinton after the Beijing conference. And there's a lot of work that has gone into, it's on that path of helping women that I became a consultant for ITC. Now I'm working full-time with them for this season because the rest of the trainings it's been hit a bit of a blow. But yes, working full-time right now with the ITC and consulting still for the women, okay? Are we together? Can I get some feedback? Can somebody talk? Somebody say something? Brenda Joy, SpunkGo, UAE, Dubai, UAE, Menya, somebody unmute yourself and say something. Okay, I didn't hear you, but I saw Brenda Joy unmuted herself. Okay, so let me talk a little bit about SheTrades. And this is an overview. I'll try to move very fast. So we are a joint agency of the United Nations and the WTO, the World Trade Organization. And our mandate is to support the internationalization of small and medium-sized enterprises. So we focus on expanding trade opportunities and fostering sustainable development. Women economic empowerment is not really just a matter of government policy, private sector, or social change alone. And if you begin to look at those three things I'm mentioning, you can see how if you want a career in social impact organizations, then either it can be under government, it can be under private sector, and it can be social change on its own, So there are many legs to this. And I hope I can make that clearer as we move on. But it's critical. What we're doing at SheTrades is making sure that all these are creating a healthy ecosystem for women-owned businesses to be able to thrive. Our goal at the SheTrades initiative is to bring 3 million women to markets by 2021. We're looking at 7 global actions: champion quality data, enact fair policies, secure government contracts, strike business deals, enable market access, unlock financial services, and grant ownership rights. And you can see, and I hope as I'm speaking, you can wear the heart on if you're looking for a career, if you're working in a certain career, which spaces here would resonate with who you are, Some of you, it's government. Others, it's, for example, that strike business deals for me. Strike business deals is critical, is sales is critical to strike business deals because it's really bringing women to the table to the economic agenda, women economic empowerment. So this is what we've managed to achieve so far in capacity building on the SheTrades initiative. We have trained over 300,000 women. In business linkages, we are still counting 140 million US dollars generated in exports. And in terms of increased awareness, we have 300 institutions committed to us, to SheTrades, and 127 signatories to the Buenos Aires Declaration. Okay. And so, as I said earlier, we work with governments, we work with business support organizations like yourself, SpunkGo, and we work with private sector. And all these are creating a more supportive ecosystem for women-owned businesses. We're ensuring that they are more competitive. In a snapshot, you can see what we are doing so far. We have an office in Bangladesh, Kenya, Ghana, and Nigeria. And you can see what we are able to achieve so far, quite exciting and very, very encouraging. That's in terms of training, we've trained about just slightly over 3,000 women-owned businesses. And in terms of income generation, you can see we have about 24 million US dollars. Total sales are 24 million US dollars gone into the pockets of women-owned businesses who perhaps could not have accessed those international markets that they're dealing with. At the Commonwealth Project, we are dealing with agribusiness, IT, BPO, textile, and tourism. Okay. So another arm, we are working with private sector. Here in Kenya, we are working with SBM Bank. Some of the banks very interested in what we're doing, SBM being like the most active for now. With the Commonwealth Project, we have ABSA, which is very active at our initiative level. We have Stanbic Bank. So the banks are very interested because they have a database of women-owned entrepreneurs who could use some of the skills we're training. Then Safaricom is also, East Africa's largest telco, Sub-Saharan Africa's largest telco. So we're also doing some activations with them. Under private sector, we've supported 40 companies in the 4 countries, and 17 of those have adopted new gender inclusive business practices. And we have had about 35 capacity building sessions together. All right, so the purpose of why I had put this break is so that we can have a conversation. So far, any questions? So far, any comments? Please feel free to unmute yourself. Netra, I would have wanted this to be very interactive. So if there's any comment, any question, any concern, please raise it as I prepare to move to the next slide.
All right, there are a few questions down in the chat, so I'll just read them out and then you can answer them. So okay. The first question would be, what would you define as a successful organization?
Okay, so thank you for that. A successful organization, long time ago, it was said, long time ago, they used to say, it's a profitable organization. But then after, as the world has progressed with the introduction of sustainability, even the sustainable development goals are leading towards 17 of them, leading towards a better world, because we've realized if you are an oil company, you're spilling oil into the oceans, not good. You're not doing well. Recently in Kenya, there's an organization that was in the news. It's in agribusiness. That they seem not to have been taking care of their large estate. And so they supply avocados to Europe in large quantities. But then now this story came out on how their guards, there was a case of one of the women who were raped, and some guards somewhere far in the farm, because I think they have about 500 acres of land, which is not fenced. So something happened in their farm, and let me tell you, they have had a beating because of it. Tesco, which takes some of their fruits, was said they're holding up on this until they fix their human issues. So when we talk about sustainability, it's 3 things. It's people, it's profit, it's planet. And by planet, we're saying, are you conscious of your environment? Are you returning good into the environment? If it's chemicals, are you trying to do something to make sure that these do not go into the ecosystem and spoil our soil, spoil our ocean, spoil everything? If it's people, Are we caring for the people enough so that they can take care of themselves, their children, raise children, and live a balanced life? And profit, which was always the thing that everyone talked about, is, profit is as a byproduct of all those other things going well. Sustainable profit is a byproduct of all the other things going well. So that's what I would say to that question. That a good business is one that looks at people, it looks at its profits, because again, you're in business to make money. It's not, to not make money. So making money is never should never really be the most important thing like it was in an organization, but it is very important. Then the third piece is planet. Are you eco? Are you concerned about, how you're dealing with your environment? And so those three legs are critical. Any other question?
Yes, thank you so much for that. That was a very good answer. These are just a few comments. So from Manya, it says, enjoying the session so far. From Dubai, UAE, your personal story is very interesting. And it comes along with a question that says, if you had to do something different, how would you do it?
And so when you say something different, what do you mean? Do you mean different in the world, like you want to start an unbeaten path? Or do you mean different in terms of social enterprise, something different? So maybe just a general answer in case you're not able to answer, just a general answer. If you want to do something different, you really have to dig deep. Mahatma Gandhi did something different. Wangari Maathai did something different. Nelson Mandela did something different. They caught the attention of the world. They were celebrated and still are to date. But to do that, it takes really not much more of internal listening to yourself. And I think your question will also lead very well, will dovetail very well into my next session. You want to do something different? It's possible, because what they say, 7 billion people on the planet. I actually think there's 7 billion things that can be done. And depending on how well you discover what you can do, you all can come up to the top. It may not be a public, or, it may not be a um, public space that people will celebrate you and say you are either the president or either Nelson Mandela, or, it may not be that, but in your own way, if you listen to yourself and find out your key strengths, find out your key abilities, then you should be able to really make an impact and do something different, because there's no fingerprint that is the same as the other. Okay? Detra?
All right. The next question is, if you want to contribute to SheTrades, how would you do that as a viewer?
As a viewer, if you want to contribute to SheTrades. Okay, so that's an interesting question. If you want to contribute to SheTrades. So financially, I see Commonwealth Development Office, which is UK aid. And so we are not doing anything financial. We do not receive any money from anywhere. We are not asking for anyone to pay any fees at any time. So we're asking women-owned businesses in those 4 sectors to join and get the benefit. So maybe one way you can contribute is tell more people about it, and tweet more about us, share about us on your platforms, and yeah, I think that's the way to contribute. Okay, and join the program if you're in any of those 4 sectors. Okay.
All right, I'll definitely tell our viewers to share it on their platforms just to get the word out. There is one question which comes from UAE. Can you give an example of how you've helped a specific community of women via SheTrades?
Ooh, I have so many. So at SheTrades, we work. You saw there's a very critical element which is called the business generation. We do capacity building, and then we get women to generate business. So either it's through private sector, which means we connect them, make them become suppliers, help them rather become suppliers either to Safaricom or a bank, and then we measure. Now, one of the women-owned businesses who is in textile, I'll talk about one women-owned businesses in textile. I have so many, so I'm struggling even to pick one. She exports to, she has amazing products, exports to New York now during the trade fairs, is on the France, showroom, the Paris showroom. But she's not just one woman. She does beaded products. The product, if you Google, is called Giamini, Jiamini, and that's just one. So what she does beaded products, very high end, and it's been known to be, her products have been featured on Sports Illustrated. I think Beyonce has even won one of her products. And so she does not work by herself. The people who create these products are a community somewhere in Ukambani and another one in Narok. And so in terms of impact, anytime that product is sold, outside of the country or whether in the country, then this community receives their fair share of, this business, Giamini business. So that's just one example. I have so many. I think if I start going into that, I will not finish the session. If you go to Facebook and tag and follow ITC, we keep featuring success stories every month from either Kenya, Ghana, Bangladesh, or Nigeria. So we feature them every month. Okay. All right. Okay, so they've muted themselves. Excellent. All right, so I think I'll move on. That's enough. Let me move on to a very simple exercise of, I see what you were doing. Who is this? Helen Mushiri? Helen, please mute yourself. Helen Mushiri, mute yourself. Thank you. Okay. Now that is done. All right, so career path. In terms of career path, I want to talk about purpose because it's not just about a career. It's actually more about a purpose. Like, what is your greatest contribution to humanity? How do you find that thing that really, moves you? What's your core gift? What's your, how effective are you as a person? Okay. So there's C.G. Jung, who is Psychological Reflections, talks about every advance, every achievement in mankind has been connected with an advance in self-awareness. So as you can see, I've put the ttisi.com. I've put it for you. You can check it out later. I ran this program as a consultant, and I'm still running. My colleagues are still running it as consultants. It's basically helps you identify what's your driving force, what's your competence, what's your, what are the key pillars that hold you together, and what do they say about you? And once you can be able to map that, then you can be able to see which career matches that competence. Okay, so steps to personal effectiveness are my passion, my natural being. So step one is, first of all, you explore and discover more about yourself. Step two is learn how to recognize and appreciate others' differences, not just being alike. Somebody who says not to you is not a bad person. Then step three is learn how to adapt your behavior to interact more effectively with others. And then finally, take action. So I have a question, and this is where I wanted some interaction, and I hope it doesn't get too noisy. In terms of, has anybody heard of these personalities, the blue personality, green personality, red personality, yellow personality? If anyone has, please say yes. If not, I'll just move along swiftly because I see I have 30 more minutes. Okay. Let me ask you a question before I tell you what these are. Can anybody read what is on the screen? And Netra here, I really need some interaction. What do you see?
Personally, I read a bird in the bush.
Okay, thank you. UAE, Brenda Joy? What do you read, Brenda Joy? Kanshabe?
A bird.
A bird?
The bush. Yes, a bird in the bush. A bird in the bush.
A bird in the bush. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. Manya? Manya, you had unmuted yourself. Manya?
A bird in the bush.
Thank you. Thank you very much. All right. So I think Netra did talk about it. If you read it carefully, it says a bird in the bush. So there's a typo error there. Okay. A bird in the bush. I think Netra, you got it. What does that say? So that let me not say Netra, clearly you're one person who really sees the detail, and the others see the big picture. Nothing wrong with anything. Let me give you another example. What do you see? Just unmute yourself and say what you see.
Based on like first impressions, I think I saw a cube in the middle of the circles.
A cube in all of the circles. Thank you. Very good. What else do you see? Anybody? At this point, I'm going
Hello, my name is.
to.
I'm sorry. Who should speak?
Yes, please. Who was speaking?
I
Linda?
was the one. Okay. I can see a hexagon.
Hexagon.
Yeah.
Okay. Very good. Now, I like that. I like that you're seeing different things. Although I don't know if anybody can see a cube. Can anybody see this? I'm gonna try to line it up. So this is the top of a cube, and then the side, and then the bottom. Can anybody see the box now? I'll not wait for your answer. Yes, you can see it now. All right. So if you saw the inner part, just to see, either some people say this is a Mercedes-Benz, others say I see the flag of South Africa, which is great because different people, as I said earlier, different people see different things, and that alludes to different giftings. Did you know that? And so there's a gifting. If you saw only this part and this part independent of each other, then that means you're very detail-oriented. Okay, but if you saw the box as I've said, then it means you see the bigger picture. And somehow your brain has forced you to connect. You see, there's no line in here. But because of the way your brain is wired, you ended up with a box. You see the dots, how they connect, which means you see the bigger picture. And sometimes you miss out on the detail, but you see the bigger picture. And that's why we need one another, whatever your gifting is. Okay. I'm trying to move my slide. Yes, there we go. So why do I do this? I do this because we are still talking on career. Okay. In terms of perception and awareness, the world exists not merely in itself, but also as it appears to me. And so the blue personality is the thinker, the strategist. The red personality is a very strong, opinionated personality. Then we have the happy personality, at all costs, please, happiness. And then we have the green personality, at all costs, please, peace. Okay. So this, as I said earlier, is content from TTI, Target Training Institute, which is one of the sessions we run. I was running in my consultancy, and my colleagues still are doing it. So in terms of compliance, this kind of person shows no bias, is objective, is detached. In terms of the green personality, they're still tranquil, calming, and soothing. In terms of the influencer, the yellow, they're cheerful, uplifting, spirited, and buoyant. And then dominance, red, is positive, affirmative, bold, and assertive. The reason I thought this is critical for us to share today is because you definitely fit into one of these personalities. So how then can you have a career in a social impact organization like SheTrades if you're going to go into the field work? If you're going to go into the field work, most probably means that you're going to be either an influencer or a dominant, where you go out into the field and you can speak to people, you can network with people. being with people doesn't bother you. Remember earlier on, I said initially when I started my career, I really wanted a computer's job because I was not sure I wanted to be around people. I didn't know it was something innate in me. But today, if you ask me to go to the background, I can, but I much prefer being with people. Now, what does that make me? I'm a social, yes, I train, I am a trainer, I am a speaker, I am a networker, a coach, and I help women with their own, work through their businesses, and it gives me joy. However, if you are perhaps inclined towards being blue or being green, then you don't want to be on the forefront. You can still work within an organization like ITC because we need this skill to complete the world. So we need planning, we need strategists, we need people who just see, okay, there's conflict out there. Why don't we come in and just help out? You know. So do you see what I mean? But in the field, then you would need to be one of these personalities. It gives a lot of joy. However, it doesn't mean that this cannot be in the field. Let me explain what I mean. Okay. What I mean is we have all the four factors within us. And depending on the job that you get, then you're going to either dial up into one space and dial down something else. So in case you find that you are a more happy person, sunny personality, happy, 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 usually this personality, let me read for you what and as you can see, there's the introverted person and the extroverted person. All these, I'm telling you, we cannot say that any one of these cannot work in any organization, especially social impact organization. Most organizations, I must warn you today, social impact is taking center stage, is becoming critical. So let me read to you what the red personality usually is gifted in there. Confident, determined, love challenges, focused, and influencing others. But in terms of liability, these are the liabilities, as you can read. Maybe poor listeners can be seen as arrogant, may push too hard, and do not wait for feedback. It doesn't mean you are this if you're a red personality. It means you have enough raw material to become this if you don't work on it. Okay. The green personality let me talk about the gifts first, is builds deep and long-term relationships. They're natural listeners. They're sincere and warm and persistent. But in terms of liabilities, they show lack, they're slow to adapt, may lack enthusiasm in asking for a decision, avoids rejection, takes difficulties personally. Now, this content I'm sharing with you is actual work that has gone into a lot of human study to help you understand that we are not the same. We are very different. But whoever you are, you bring something to the table. You also bring your liabilities with you to the table. However, the reason we learn about this is so that we can be able to be self-aware. I talked about awareness and perception. So first of all, we've talked about perception, and then awareness of how do you perceive things, and what are some of the challenges within you that could hamper you from bringing your gifts to the world. Okay. Next, this is the sunny personality. This is the happy person. In every situation, they are just happy. Okay, so they are quick to build relationships. Sorry, it has moved. They are quick to build relationships. They are friendly and sociable, adaptable, imaginative, skillful presenters. But liabilities, they may lack focus, too casual for some, poor planning and follow-up, and can lose interest very easily. And finally, we have the blue personality, which is, I call them the strategizer. So their initial interaction may be difficult. Sorry, let me read the gifts first. They're knowledgeable and detailed. They have an air of competence. They ask probing questions, and they have thorough follow-up. But in terms of liabilities, initial interaction may be difficult and stuffy. Questions may be seen as critical and insensitive, overlooks others' feelings, and focus on inconsequential details. Now, that does not mean that this personality is this. It means they have enough raw material to dial into this space if they're not careful. All right. So I want to ask you a question. Guess what kind of personality?
I think that she would be a yellow.
Mm-hmm. Anybody else?
We had one blue from Dubai, UAE.
Okay, so yellow, blue. Let's see. All right. So Oprah, you were right. Is a high yellow, happy person of the people, likes to give gifts. Okay, likes TV. and is also high red. She's a very high red also. She has a high influencer and high dominance, which means she's able to put her foot down and say, this is what we're going to do. Come rain, come shine, we are going to help the children in South Africa. You know, she's definitely not high green. Let me move on to the next one. I think you got the message. You got the drift. Guess the color type, Will Smith.
Personally, I'm stuck between a blue and a green.
A blue and a green. Thank you. Somebody else? You're guessing, so it doesn't have to be right.
Green.
Okay, green, so the peaceable, the peaceful personality. Okay, somebody else? It's a guess.
Rohana and Valerie said green as well.
Okay, so let's see. All right. So Will Smith, interestingly, high yellow and a high green. So green, you're right. So yes, so as you can see, he's got introversion and extroversion personality, which means, and let me explain introversion. Introversion means you recharge. It's not that you can't go out and give a speech. It's that you recharge by yourself. You want to go watch a waterfall, you want to go fishing, or you just want to bake by yourself. But and that's introversion. But if you're extroverted, then you recharge when you're with people. It means when you're around people, you're your happiest. It's when you're your most energized. It's how you draw energy. It's how you become better. It's how you get ideas. When you're at a party or when you're at a social gathering, and you know, means you've been really hit by this pandemic, but that's why we are all on Zoom right now. Okay. So in terms of course, Will Smith, yes.
But there was a question from Manya saying, is it possible to move from one color personality to another?
Wow, it's a very good question. Yes, it's possible to move. However, earlier on I talked about dialing up and dialing down. Let me try and move back there. Okay, it's called dialing up and dialing down. You can. Okay, so please note we have all of them in us. So it's really like what is it called? You know when you play the radio and there are these red buttons that keep going up depending on the volume, so it goes. So you can. It's like a measuring bar. So sometimes in some situations you find yourself being highly decisive, and then in the next moment you decide, okay, let the people have their way. Okay, but when you come down to yourself, if you look at the larger spectrum of your life, you're perhaps more of this. But then sometimes you're able to dial down, and that comes with maturity. Younger people sometimes really try to force their way, and that's how when you're still, especially they say the brain formation between 14 and 18 is very high. So you can tend to, if you are this personality and you don't even know it, and this is why we do for children, for young adults aged between 14 and 16, 14 and 18, you can push so much on the wrong direction. But then as maturity checks in, as you listen to people, as you get a coach, as you continue with your schooling, you realize, oh, I don't have to be always right. Actually, I'm not always right. Okay. I mean, none of us is always right. So I need to be listening to this person who keeps telling me, no, slow down. Don't be so rough on people. And so you dial in more into your own blue and less of your red. However, there is an underlying gift and an underlying personality that is the way you are created. Usually this type of person, if there's a leadership gap, they jump in and they say, okay, I'm going to lead it. Okay, for this discussion, I'm leading. You know, those kind of people, these are the people who never allow a leadership gap. A leader always emerges with a solution. All right. This type of personality is happy, happy, happy. But let me tell you, put this person in a social enterprise that is dealing with children who have been abandoned. And this person begins to dial into either peace and dial either into making decisions because these children are depending on them. But that doesn't mean they've changed. It means underlying personality is yellow happy, but because of the circumstance, then they can be able to, shift a little bit, dial more into their green or more into their red or more into their blue. I hope I answer your question well. Any other question?
No, that was all.
Excellent. So I see we have a few more minutes. If there's if there's any question, please feel free to type it or to unmute yourself and ask. But I'm going to end with this one, which is Mother Teresa, beloved Mother Teresa. I can't believe I've shown you. All right. You don't have to guess the color type because you've seen it, but go deep in yourself and tell me, what do you think about this personality? First of all, tell me introverted, extroverted. That's an obvious question. Excuse me. But in terms of the blue, the green, peaceful green, happy yellow, strategic blue, dominant red. What do you think?
So Ruth said that she thinks Mother Teresa was extroverted and green and peaceful.
Oh, wow. That's a different way to look at it. Definitely green and peaceful, but let's see. All right. So high green. In fact, that's the most. Extroverted. Wow. What do the rest of you think? I personally thought she was more introverted. Because extroverted, unless you meant, let me give you an example of extroverted. Extroverted is Trump. Okay, he speaks strong, he speaks his mind, and let me not spoil it by saying it's only Trump. Let me give you another example, perhaps for balance. Extroverted would be Obama. You get it? So they are, they do very well among people. They get their energy when they're around people. Okay. But Mother Teresa really never had that. She was almost hidden, but very impactful. And this is where I want to close by saying it, you can fit in an organization. You just need to find your role in that organization. And part of the journey to that career is finding out who you are. Mother Teresa, highly introverted, however, is a high green, which means very focused on peace and very focused on making the world a better place, and is a high blue, which means she was very, very strategic about the decisions she made in her life because she could see the impact that she wants to have in life. Okay, even the people around her, the just the entire movement, very, very self-effacing, self-giving. So that's Mother Teresa, and I think with that, I think I'm done. I would have asked you to think about yourself and perhaps write down, if you can, on the chat, what about you? Because until you begin to discover who you are, what your underlying, giftings are, then you will have, you'll just take on a job. What I'm finding in today, I'm finding it it's more important. When I grew up, you could take any job anytime. Okay. You could do anything, anytime. We had a lot of time, so it seemed. But I'm finding that with more tools in the world today, like the TTI SI tool, with more information, you can literally learn anything on internet nowadays, especially after the pandemic. You can go through a master's program, you can go through a degree program online. I think this generation, you have much more of an opportunity to decide exactly what you want at a young age and dive right into it. So if you want a career in social enterprise, it can even come. One of my assistants is an economist. So she's done economics, so she understands. You see, at SheTrades, we're a social enterprise, okay? We are trying to push the women economic empowerment agenda, which is critical. It's also supported by the SDG goals. But I did economics, but I did not end up optimizing on economics. But my assistant just graduated in an economics degree, okay? High economics degree is so relevant because remember, we are dealing with measuring measuring, which are the lowest hanging fruits in an economy, what size of, how many women in that particular economy, and how many more can we bring on the table to the international markets. So in terms of economy, hey, there you go, that's a path. For me, who is an extroverted, strategic thinker, coach, trainer, took out the path of sales, for me, I do understand economics, but it's more influencer. I'm more of an influencer. So what do? I will pitch the concepts to the women-owned businesses. I'll pitch concepts to private sector, government, and business support organizations. And I'll tell them, help, not help. It's actually the thing to do. It's not just helping. It's just opening up, creating a level playing field for women-owned businesses to be able to thrive. Okay. So as you can see, I can't say there's a hard and fast career that will lead you into a social enterprise. We have accountants who are completely introverted and will probably never get to know them, but they work within the background of this social enterprise. But if you are talking about the actual work on the ground, then it really helps if you identify who you are, identify your passions. And in closing, let me give you an example. Assume you're driving down one of the streets in your country. You're driving down, and then you see what we call, a homeless child on the road. And that homeless child is begging on the road. I can tell you one of two things will happen to you. Either you will close the window very slowly before you get to the child, but I've observed that there are some other people who will open the window very slowly as they get to the child. Those are two different people. And this is not even a personality issue. This is a purpose issue. It's a passion issue. So the one who closes the window very closely, which is most likely most of us, that means perhaps you fear, you've had a bad experience, you feel for the child, but you don't exactly know what to do with them. Okay? This is not exactly, you're not exactly either passionate. Let me not say passionate. You just don't know what to do with these children. But the person who opens the window very slowly, they are so passionate about helping this homeless child that they will actually package some loaves of bread, some sandwich, instead of giving them money, you find that they usually carry something in their car to give just in case such a child shows up. What is that? That is passion. That person is built to care for that kind of community, and eventually they could build a children's home out of that. All right, and that begins to speak to you onto. So there's no hard and fast, but what you do, and if something makes you it moves you very deeply, then perhaps there's a gifting there. There's a possibility that that's a way you should go. If something makes you so happy, so one of two things, it's either it makes you so very happy to do this, maybe it's even singing or painting, all right, or it's something that makes you very upset, like it really bothers you while this part, like environment, like why don't they pick papers, like how do people litter, why would an organization spill oil with, look at the animals, so you have to find where the passions are, and that begins to speak a lot into your purpose. Now, I must make a distinction here. It's not always that what you're passionate about and what you're concerned about or what you're very happy about is the type of job that you'll attract. It's not always the case, but I find that your generation, this generation, that is, you're probably in your 20s in 2020, okay, this generation, you have a much better opportunity of trying to make those matches even more. You don't have to force it. You just have to pray about it and it will come. But if it doesn't come, please go ahead and take a job, even if it has nothing to do with that passion. But on a Saturday, find the time to feed your passions. And eventually, that part might grow to be even bigger than the job. So please take the job, be faithful at the job, get skilled, because a passion, and then you add a skill, is a winning formula. but just a passion alone, maybe you don't even know how to communicate to people who could fund you. So then that skill needs to be developed. And where is that developed? At your workplace, whatever it is you're doing. So I hope that's clear.
Thank you
Right.
so much, Phyllis, for this very impactful and eye-opening session, and to the audience too for the interaction. If you need any more details or want to know how to participate in SpunkGo, please visit our website, www.spunkgo.com. You will automatically be invited for our future webinars. Thank you so much and good evening.